Oh, I forgot. Yeah, and don't forget about the whole. Oh gosh, the even the mafia infiltrated the movies back then too. If you think about that, because you think about George Reeves, who was the original well, not the original, but the '50s Superman, and there's those connections too. So I don't know. I'm ready. Are you ready for this movie to end? Are you ready for the final grand finale?
Um, I guess so. I mean, I sometimes think about when this is over and whatever happens to these people, we'll say minimally they're removed from power, maximally we have a Abraham Lincoln style justice happen. Whatever it is, I think to myself, like, it'll be such a change for so many people. Like, their whole lives have been focused on some of these things. It would be weird to go back to like my 80s self. I mean, I guess I'm, old now, but just to not feel like every day could be the last day for my country, which is,
Mm-hmm.
I've just been on this adrenaline trip or whatever since the day Barack Hussein Obama said he was running for president, minimally. I mean, I was into the JFK stuff and that before, but as far as me feeling like I had to do something, Barack Obama really pumped that up.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I agree. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, it'd be nice. I think about those good old days when you could go out and just run around and really not have to worry about much of anything. Just get home before dark, before mom called you. Those are the good old days.
Yeah, well, I just want to have a music industry back. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but man, before all this, it was like my whole life was around like fashion and music and all of that. And I've completely given that up because it's like they destroyed it. I saw a meme where they showed a picture of people, I guess, in the 70s and the 80s, and then they said, like, if you took a picture now, how would you know what era it is? And I went on a little rant. I'm like, well, they destroyed the music industry, they destroyed the American fashion industry, they destroyed everything that would define our culture, like pop culture, as being American or in any particular era. They destroyed all of it on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
There is no defining mark because we're all supposed to wear like some kind of, you know, Mao uniform or whatever in the New World Order where, fashion wouldn't be a thing, at least not for us. Like in, oh, I never, Hunger Games, where everyone had just regular people didn't have fashion or anything, but the people in the capital city were like over the top fashionable and stuff. I'm like, damn it, that's what's happening.
Definitely, definitely. And the thing is it was so gradual. A lot of us just didn't see it
Oh, I
happening.
did.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thankful for my dad because although I wish in some ways I wish I could talk about to him about some of this stuff because even I don't know how much he knew or how much he realized, but it's like now I understand some of the things he was trying to tell me, like with JFK and the electoral college, and he came up to me one time. I was in high school, and he says, "Do you know who elects the president?" And I was like, "What's the electoral college?" He says, "No, it's the banks because they are trying to control." And I'm like, "Nah." And now we see now what they're talking. I see what he was talking about at the time. So,
Yeah, my life back in the day before I got married and that, if you see, unfortunately, with my commie blind date that never happened, Um, it was the name of the movie. The movie's High Fidelity, which actually is based on Chicago with John Cusack. Just generally the scene of that movie where they're all hanging out in a record store and like you knew everyone in the neighborhood and they were all kind of hipsters and that. That's basically what my life was like before. And there's a lot of bad aspects to it, but generally, in a surface way, I really couldn't ask for anything better than your sort of 1980s style Chicago. You really, really, literally couldn't ask for anything better. It was so awesome. It was like a John Hughes movie or High Fidelity, just hanging out at the record store, seeing what came out, talking music all day, hanging out with really cool people. So it's sad.
I grew up in kind of a small to midtown, and our hangout was the kettle. So we didn't
Is that a
really.
restaurant?
Yeah, it was like it's a lot like the IHOP,
Oh, okay.
where you could sit and drink coffee all night, and so that's what I did. My my first boyfriend was a high intellect. He was very highly intelligent, but yeah, he was an interesting character. He was also wacko, but he also had they called it back then. He was manic depressive also, so that's at the time that's what they called it, manic depression. So, but
Yeah, I don't know if people do that anymore. Like, I remember so many times hanging out with my friends and coffee houses till like 4 or 5 in the morning, talking about like the meaning of life and are aliens real and all this till your eyes were like aching and you had to go home. And that was just like normal back then. And I don't know if people do that anymore.
mm, I don't think so, but I could be wrong. But then again, I'm an old buddy, and I don't go very. I'm also a homebody. I don't really like crowds, so I don't go out very often and go hang out and do that stuff anymore. But he usually talked about computer stuff. He was into the high tech stuff, talk about sci-fi and like Star Trek and things like that. But that's what he was into.
Yeah, I had like a small group of friends, like maybe 10 or 15 people, but we were like, um, none of them were my boyfriend, but a lot of them were guys, but we were really close. Like me, uh, like a lot of DJs I knew and people that were artists and all that kind of stuff. I have no idea how I went from there to here. I guess just because I was always a patriot and um my family history and such, just it was destined that if the call, went out, that I would answer it. It's just at that time no one was blowing the bugle. I
Hmm.
didn't have to answer any call. I was enjoying my country.
Yeah. Well, you remember back in the 80s when, I mean, that was one of the things the 80s were really known for is, well, at least the U.S. weren't involved in any major wars that were talked about, right? I mean, there may have been I mean, other than the Iran-Contra affair with Oliver North, I mean, there really wasn't anything bombarding you on the news with a war somewhere.
No, the
And
Berlin Wall fell.
yeah.
So everyone was kind of like, oh, thank God, no more duck and cover under the desk, you know? And, really honestly, that was sort of the beginning of all this because the deep state had nothing to do. So they had, if you read the Q posts and believe them, they had to go from having a boogeyman to creating a boogeyman. And of course, the pirates had to go in and raid the former Soviet Union, which was kind of why we had a lot of wealth floating around, actually. So, Anyway, I mean, at that time, I don't think anyone knew that. The furthest thing in anyone's mind at that time was that our country was run by pirates who were lining up in the hotels in the Ukraine, buying up those shares or whatever in the former Soviet Union and raiding whole industries. And when Putin came in, I had no idea that the reason there was all the deaths and different things that happened was Putin was, in essence, reclaiming Russia from our guys. So I had no idea about any of that. I mean, I was just like hanging out and doing stuff. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I had a lot of friends who were super political, mostly on the left, like anti war left, because I was in Chicago. And they'd keep you up all night long talking about all kinds of things. But even they weren't really quite like they didn't quite know what was going on yet. But this was all pre-internet, and that's a big part of it,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But I had friends that, you know, read political books and were really into politics. I like hanging out with them and talk. They talked a lot about George Bush and the wars in the Middle East and stuff. And so I was pretty up on that, but not so much like this raiding of the Soviet Union. I don't remember anyone talking about that and how our deep state like set up over there. I do remember people talking about that the caliphate was not real. It was our deep state having to create boogeymen. I do remember the left talking about that a lot. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, the caliphate was a real thing in the Middle Ages. And that always kind of confused me.
Yeah, well, I know world events always confuse me because it's basically it's so far away. I didn't know. I mean, outside of the TV show MASH, I didn't know much about what was going on in the world. I kind of relied on my dad to help me piece things together, and so I really
Well, it
didn't
sounds
know.
like your dad was pretty sophisticated.
Well, he was he grew up on a farm, so he was an all-American boy, I guess you could say. And youngest of four brothers, he had one of his older brothers was in the Navy, so so he yeah, and that's another crazy thing when people will talk about President Trump not going to Vietnam. Well, my uncle, even though he was in the Navy during Vietnam, he was stateside. He didn't go fight. He was always stateside throughout the whole conflict. So
Right. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I went to Washington, D.C. and they had like some protests against Trump or whatever. And there were actually people there who had like an x ray of a foot and ankle. And then they like drew a red circle around Trump where Trump's heel spur was. I mean, I just went to the guy and I'm like, don't you think that you're just a little too deep into this heel spur nonsense? Seriously. I mean, like, dude, you just like paid to make a big X, a big, huge X ray sign with a red arrow where heel spur is. I'm like, you need to like rethink your messaging here. This is ridiculous. This is just laughable. It's so stupid.
well, think of all the people that did dodge the draft and went to Canada, and then who was the one that pardoned all the people that went to Canada to to keep from going to Vietnam? That was Jimmy Carter.
I don't
So,
know. It's just so weird because, I mean, just when you just to at the very beginning, I'm just gonna say, uh, the draft dodgers were the left. So like you're ass backwards to begin with your heel spur nonsense.
right?
So I don't really hold any. I honestly like. Does anyone in today's world say, "Wow, you're a draft dodger from Vietnam"? I think if we went back, the whole country would be draft dodgers from Vietnam. Let's be honest, you know? If they did a draft to send kids to Ukraine, I mean, wow, maybe that's why they started that bizarro brainwashing because they were going to draft kids.
Oh yeah.
But I'll tell you right now that anyone that's not brainwashed would go to every ends of the earth to not send their kid to Ukraine. That's that whole drafting and going to Vietnam thing. That's never going to happen again. Not without excessive force to get those kids on the transport for that kind of particular kind of war where it's really not where there's a lot of questions. Let's put it that way. I mean, can
Yeah.
you imagine?
Yeah. And my dad didn't go. I mean, at first and I've said this before, at first it was, I think he was able to get a deferment because he was married, and then the next time it was because my mom had me, so he was a family man. And my mom said by the time he was about ready to go ahead and volunteer, that's when they pulled everybody out. So, yeah, yeah, uh, I mean, nobody likes war, not really. And if nobody wants us to go to war, I don't think, except maybe the ones that profit off of it. But
Right. See, that's the thing. At that time, people were naive, patriotic and naive. People nowadays would fight, obviously, if there was, um, we had something in the game and that it would be saving the country, obviously.
right.
But
Well,
but for something that's obscure and seemingly corrupt like Vietnam was,
yeah,
I mean, I just don't like people know this history now. I don't know if you'd trick them a second time.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
That's
think
all I'm
about
saying.
well,
So this
well,
guy with the heel spur, I'm like, I don't even
yeah,
know where you're coming from, dude. Like,
yeah,
what headspace are you in? You're clearly an ex-hippie Vietnam vet guy.
yeah,
Like, where's your head at, man? Did you learn nothing?
right,
And then you pay to do this big x-ray blow up. Like, I'm obscure enough that I even know why you would have a picture of a heel spur. Probably 99.999% of the people here have no clue why you have a picture of a heel spur.
yeah,
It's like you are like really wrapped up in something that's um so like illogical and weird. I don't
yeah,
even get it. Maybe
yeah,
it's just because I'm not a vet. It just didn't work for me. People have a good sign for their thing. I give them credit. I'm like, yeah, I totally disagree with this, but you put effort in and it's like catchy. It's a meme. It works. I give people credit for that because it's hard.
yeah. Well, I mean, remember, of course, look what happened at 9/11, and that's when that was probably the first time you got as many people to volunteer. That was a narrative that they pushed, so it kind of
Right.
got people out of their complacency and said,
Exactly. But
and
do you think people that went and fought in the Middle East, the ones that uh, just ran out and signed up emotionally, I think probably a lot of them, because you hear about people that are like, wow, I was like, it's just a hard lesson they learned in a way that, hey, maybe 9/11 wasn't as 9/11 as I thought it was.
right. No, not after all this time. I think now that we got someone who's trying to expose what was really behind 9/11, although you still got people, I still hear people believing the narrative of 9/11, that, and, and I also know I've heard people who were, they were deep in the trenches in other countries under doing covert ops. I've heard testimony that they didn't even know 9/11 occurred until 10 years afterwards. So go figure that one. So what were they doing?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but the internet that they put out there for people to use, it's a double-edged sword because a lot of their playbook is not working the way it used to. People just laugh at a lot of these psyops. I mean, I saw they tried to say that there were aliens headed this way on Thursday, I think. That same scientist who keeps saying that comets are alien spacecraft, he came out and said that we're all going to die. There's this alien spacecraft that's spying on us and heading this way. And some memes started floating around like, we need better psyops, which Elon Musk like picked up on and posted. And I'm like, totally the what was it, the Mars invades or whatever with Mercury radio, when people in New Jersey were like hiding in their basement because they thought there was aliens, Martians invading. Everyone would just laugh now and be like, yeah, whatever, dude, give us a better psyop. Even if real aliens came, no one would believe it.
No. Cried wolf way too many times. Tried to control our. You tried to brainwash us and control us too many times. Too many people didn't buy into it the first time, and now people are starting to see the light. Yeah.
So that's what I mean, like, this playbook's just played out.
Well,
So,
that's
it's just kind of
what.
wackadoodle. That's why when I was talking about the Epstein thing, I'm like, it's just pulling the sex story out so ingrained as part of their playbook. Because, they did the Monica Lewinsky and this and that. That got, totally saved the Clintons, this Monica Lewinsky, which may or may not have even happened. But they had to get out of the Chinagate thing. And they just keep playing the sex play whenever they need to like get out of something. Is it like, I don't know, the sub-scene thing? There's just something about it, I can't figure it out. It's bugging me.
Well, I mean, think about the timing of the Monica Lewinsky. It got Clinton off the hook for impeachment
That's what
because
I'm
of
saying.
Whitewater, and I mean, you
They
know,
were headed to jail until magically this Monica Lewinsky picture showed up. And here's the interesting thing. Do you know who broke the Monica Lewinsky story?
I do and I don't. I know I don't remember who it was, but I've heard the name. I just don't remember who exactly it was.
So, I mean, the lore is that the Monica Lewinsky story broke on this new thing called the internet. And the
Ah,
guy who broke it was Matt Drudge.
mm,
And that's why I've always believed that Matt Drudge is some sort of intel tied person, which seems obvious now, actually. But that's the lore. And that he broke it. He had like a little, you know, Atari type simplicity message board that people like Andrew Breitbart, like early adopters, were on there. And he claims somebody contacted him, or he had a contact that brought up Monica Lewinsky, and it bubbled up from this newfangled thing called the internet, uh, to where it hit the mainstream media or whatever. And this inspired a lot of people, like Breitbart, I think, is the one that tells this story. And then you had the Huffington Post and all that kind of spawned off the fact that Matt Drudge got something that big out there, allegedly past all the gatekeepers in the mainstream media, to take down Clinton, with the sex scandal. But now that we understand the playbook, we understand that actually it saved the Clintons.
mm-hmm,
And was the sex play page whatever in the playbook.
yeah,
But at the time, we didn't know the playbook, so
mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it's kind of like the wrap up smear and Mockingbird media, but it was a campaign for, I guess, if you want to call it the deep state. It in this case, it saved them instead of harmed them because they had to do something. They had to come up with a distraction and change the narrative. That's like the narrative of 9/11, covering up the fact that uh, we had, I mean, I think from what I understand, is Bush 43 we had a debt. He had oh gosh, I'm probably going to mangle the narrative. I'm probably going to mangle the story. But our debt to, I think it was China, was due, and we didn't have the money. So what happened? You had 9/11 happen. So that's, I guess you could say, that's one theory or one narrative that's I've seen going around, is that's the reason, or I've heard of, that's the reason why 9/11 happened.
Yeah, I
So
kind of stay away from the 9/11 thing. I've heard so many different stories. And so if there's 99 stories, 98 of them are deep state generated. Only one of them's true. And since I have no way of knowing what's true and what isn't, I just stay away from it. And I have
I
no way of being able to find out either.
yeah, I kind of look at it this way. There's probably a little bit of truth in every story you see. It's just trying to figure out which is the truth, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, yes. And I think that it wasn't until like somewhere in the middle of something I realized, well, I guess what really, so when they did that Paysor play, uh, that's when I realized that half of the conspiracy theories we think are real are actually planted conspiracy theories, junk conspiracy theories, to satisfy the conspiracy theory itch that some people have, and they
Mm.
don't give them up. Even when you find out that their conspiracy theory is actually reverso world wrong or totally made up, they can't give it up because they love conspiracy theories so much. So that's one thing that dark journalists talked about a lot, and so did oh, I won't be able to think of him, but he's like a far left guy who's written a bunch of books about JFK and stuff. And they said that for every action the deep state takes, they have a mainstream narrative and then they have a junk conspiracy narrative, and they put both of them out because they know that if they don't put out a junk conspiracy theory, the conspiracy theorists have to have a conspiracy theory and they will come up with their own. But if you quickly put out one, like Pizzagate is a perfect example. Nobody started out thinking that there was a dungeon or what. I don't even remember what the conspiracy thing was. Something about pizza in the basement, or Hillary Clinton doing human sacrifices in the basement of a pizza of Comet Ping Pong or whatever. Like, I'm like, this is totally planted. No one was even digging on this because I was watching the Vote and Reddit mainly where all the research was. So I'm like, no one even, like, this isn't even like a thing. No one was even doing this thing. And it's because they planted it there. And that I'm like, okay, now I totally get this. Basically, every conspiracy theory I think is real. Like 99% of them were planted to make me look stupid. So I
Mm.
just kind of don't think about them anymore because I just know it's a tool to make me look stupid. So I just
Yeah,
do research.
yeah,
I don't look for conspiracy theories online. If it's on a website of conspiracy theories, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I think I'll research that myself.
right. Well, I've said it too. I that's one reason why I try to stay away from a lot of the news and everything, because you don't, like I said, there's a negative truth in just about everything you see, but you got to dig and figure out what is the truth and what isn't. So, I mean, and it happens on both sides. So it's however you want to um, dig down into it, but there's, for, because it's like for every article you can find supporting your theory, then there's another article or two that's going to debunk your theory. So I just
Yeah.
like,
Well, I better get going here. I gotta run a few errands yet today. So I
Well,
will see all you guys later.
well, before you go,
Hmm.
I don't know if you realize it, but if you want to record your show on PSP, all you have to do is hit the record button, and it'll say, "Do you want permission?" Say yes, and then go back and hit the record button, and you can record from PSP. I don't know when that changed, but I found out about that accidentally. So we can
Oh,
now,
I'll try that next time.
yeah.
I
You
mean,
just
I know what happens when you record. A file goes on your computer when you log out, right?
right, yeah. It does. It does record to your computer, but you know how before, since it's not your account, we're using
Hmm.
PSB's account. You had to get permission from the host. Well, now Pam has it set up, and all you have to do, Pam doesn't even have to be here to give you permission. You can just hit record,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
yeah, I
Well, I'll do
found.
that next time.
I don't know if that's been like that all this time, or if it was one of the upgrades and that it was an upgrade to one of the upgrades. But I found out by accident, about a month or so ago, and I just like in the last week or two actually tried it to see if it worked, and it works. So, so
Alrighty, well, I'll try that next time. Thanks for the tip, and you guys have a good rest of your evening.
all right. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you for the conversation. I really
Yeah.
enjoy conversation. With everything going on today, it's just Epstein, and everybody's like, "Oh, guys, you got to remember, he President Trump always plays this game with these people, and I've said it before. Remember when he would get in his rallies and he would say things like, "If I told everybody to start building or stop building the wall," they would be screaming to build the wall. So it's kind of like a reverse psychology with him. What he says he's going to do or not going to do, that's what they scream the opposite for.
Yeah.
So,
This is true. That's a lot of people think that. So I guess we'll see it play out.
yeah.
Alrighty, I'll see y'all later.
All
Have a good
right.
night.
Bye,
Bye.
Aaron. Hello, everybody. This is On the Wing and a Prayer. This is your Saturday night version, and I am going to open up my Rumble live chat in a moment. But because I still have not been able to figure out how to set up the audio through Rumble by and attach it to Zoom without going through OBS. I'm just going to go ahead and I'll do Rumble. I'll do it once I finish my my video, and I will be right back in a few minutes.
Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having girded your waist with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness, having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, with which you will be able to quench all of the fiery darts of the wicked one. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, being watchful to this end with all the perseverance and supplication for all the saints, and for me, that utterance may be given to me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am under in chains, and willfully so, that in it I may speak boldly as I ought to speak. Amen.
Father God, I ask now for an impartation of your Holy Spirit. May the fullness of the Spirit of Jesus rest upon President Trump, that he be anointed with wisdom and understanding, with your counsel and might, with knowledge and fear of the Lord. And accordingly, may President Trump not judge by what he sees with his eyes, or decide by what he hears with his ears, or lean on his own understanding, but may he recognize your prompting and move according to your guidance. I ask that you give the President supernatural discernment to know who is trustworthy and who is not. Bring into the light all deception and intrigue. Expose and reverse the plans of those who would harm President Trump and this nation. In the name of Jesus, I break off all voices and influence that do not come from you, Father God. May your truth and peace surround and reign in the White House. God, you have raised up President Trump to govern at a time when there is a resurgence of oppression. Only you, Lord Jesus Christ, can anoint him to have victories over strongholds and to establish justice for the needy. Give him strength and courage to persevere in the constant battle that surrounds him, and refresh him. Father God, I see that you have such a tender heart for President Trump. Draw him close to you. I ask now for an impartation of hunger for you, so that he may love you with all his heart, soul, mind, and strength, and delight in knowing you. And if he came and whisper your name, may he go forward shouting your name. In Jesus' name, in the name of my King, I bless you.
Okay. Let's see, where can I go? Do y'all want to do? I do have some things. Oops, wait a minute. Let me go live on D Live. Let me make sure I've got all my stuff checked and ready to go in D Live chat. So if you want to join me in D Live, not D Live, I'm sorry, Rumble or YouTube, you can. Let me make sure my audio is working. It doesn't do any good if you try to go live and your audio is not working. So yes, and Mary Magdalene, I did see that you have joined me on Rumble and joined my. Thank you so much for that. I have. I guess I'm going live. No countdown this time. So if you do want to join me, you can go to my Rumble channel and join me. I like it because I can see the live chat on Rumble. Anyway, I do have two channels. I have my Bible study has one, and then I have my Patriots Soapbox channel, which is called On a Wing and a Prayer, and my Bible studies, Journey Through the Bible. So I went ahead and split those into 2 channels for the live streaming. And then I go back and do the archives or the recorded on my regular Rumble channel under Deb6545. So anyway, I just what can I say? It's Saturday, and you can see me on. Let me kind of start back. It's trying to do 2 platforms at one time, but this is Honor, Wing, and Prayer, seen on Patriots Soapbox on Thursday mornings, 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. Eastern, and Saturday evenings from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern, so adjust for your time zone. And my name, I go by Deb65, and tough crowd today. Anyway, what can I say about what's going on? Did y'all know? I mean, we knew that, let's see. So we know that Alligator Alcatraz, I wanted to remind people about Alligator Alcatraz. And so let's see. I'm going to Alligator Alcatraz. So you can see Alligator Alcatraz. All right, come on. There we go. Let's take that down. All right, can y'all see that on Rumble? Or there we go. Not Rumble, but D-Live. I'm getting D-Live mixed up. I'm sorry. Alligator Alcatraz. So we know in July the 3rd, Alligator Alcatraz was opened up for business, and they sent their first immigrants to Alligator Alcatraz. Now, yesterday, they actually started, it was only supposed to be a temporary detention center, so for people to, let's see. It was only supposed to be a temporary place for people to go and be detained until they could go through the process. So yesterday they actually flew people out. So DHS has begun flying migrants out of Florida's Alligator Alcatraz, DeSantis announces. DeSantis said Homeland Security's cadence of flights out of South Florida Immigrant Detention Center is increasing. So Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announced that Homeland Security has started flying migrants out of Alligator Alcatraz detention facility. I'm pleased to report that those flights out of Alligator Alcatraz by DHS have begun. The cadence is increasing. We've already had a number of flights in the last few days. We've had hundreds of illegals that have been removed from here, DeSantis said Friday while speaking in South Florida. When asked for the exact number of deportations and where the planes were heading to, Homeland Security Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin delivered a one-line statement for Fox News Digital. Fire up the deportation plane, she said. So DeSantis authorized the construction of the illegal immigrant detention center on a 30-square-mile property in the Everglades swamplands of Miami-Dade County under an emergency order. The property in Okeechobee, I'm sure someone in chat will correct my pronunciation of that word, is a former airport that has been outfitted with sturdy tent structures. I mean, do y'all see that they were complaining this week? They were complaining, saying that the food wasn't edible. I saw 2 reports. One was saying, well, we only get ham sandwiches. Well, it's not supposed to be a 5-star hotel. I don't know. This is looks like a concrete floor. Unless the thing about the beds, these bunk beds, it's a detention center. It's not supposed to be a hotel. And you got the bunk beds. They just look like pretty nice bunk beds, if you ask me. Now, if you come in there and trash things up, whose fault is that? The Florida Division of Emergency Management said the site has the capacity for 2,000 detainees, but will eventually hold 4,000. DeSantis said Friday that the whole purpose is to make this be a place that can facilitate increased frequency and numbers of deportations of illegal aliens, and that is the goal. Remember, we got over 20 million in this country, and they, the problem is how are they going to keep them out? And one of the reasons why this is a sensible spot is because you have this runway that's right here. You don't have to drive them an hour to an airport. You go a couple of thousand feet, and they can be on a plane and out of here, the governor said. So here's an aerial view, it looks like. This airport is able to accept commercial-sized aircraft and conduct both day and night time operations, DeSantis also said. So, and I was reading some of the things that they were accusing President Trump and the administration of, they were saying that there were maggots in the food. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I have a hard time believing that narrative. I mean, unlike the Democrats, we're about humane. We're about humane conditions, right? I mean, I don't see that happening. Now, I could be wrong to be just and fair, but where was the outrage? Where was the outrage about the J6ers who didn't have due process? I actually talked to two of the people. I actually had an interview with one of them on PSB. She explained, even though she didn't get put in jail, she basically told you how they railroaded. These prosecutors held exculpatory evidence, would not, if you were lucky to, how many of them actually got a jury trial? How many of them, how many of the J6ers, it was all bench trial? And they go against these judges. Look at the activist judges and what they're doing now. Does anybody really believe? Well, I know my the eggs I got today were about $1 more. Yeah. They were like, someone got a phone call. NBC was saying that they had a phone call and people were complaining. They were saying there were maggots in the food. These are all people on the phone you don't get to see. And of course, the Homeland Security is saying that's not true, or DHS is saying that's not true. Let me stop the share. And let me stop share. But I just I'm sorry. Do y'all really expect me to believe anything the mainstream media says about this? We don't. So I just, while everybody is focused on the Maxwell stuff and everybody's focusing on Epstein, there are things happening around the world that people just are not. Let's see, I've got some things, but let's see. So, anyway, I didn't even, here, for example, Newsom, right? What is Newsom doing in California? So Texas, if you don't know, Texas is having a special a session it's like, I believe, 6 weeks. It's a special session, and one of the focuses is supposed to be on uh, the oh my goodness, on redistricting. So Newsom's decided he's going to ramp up California redistricting threat as Texas weighs new Republican maps. Remember, this is about the voter rolls. It's about taking away the voter rolls so people can, cleaning up the voter rolls so to get rid of or minimize the election fraud. Isn't it funny how it's redistricting for one group and then gerrymandering on the other group, right? So depending on what your narrative is. So as Texas moves forward with an off-cycle redistricting to shore up Republicans' narrow House majority, remember, we've lost, 3 or 4 seats in the Congress this year just because, where they were rhinos or whatever reason, or that maybe they were compromised or they were threatened, who knows. So Gavin Newsom is plotting a Democratic response in California, but the State Independent Redistricting Commission is a major obstacle. So this is from Cal Matters, and Cal Matters is a nonprofit devoted to covering issues that affect California. So what seems a few weeks ago like a far-fetched political fantasy ahead of the 2026 midterms has quickly evolved into a high-stakes showdown enveloping states across the country. As Texas this week began an off-cycle redistricting process, basically Governor Abbott called a special session. He's got other things on the agenda that they want to. Hi, Michael J. They want to put on their docket or the agenda, but redistricting is one of them. So let's see, began an off-cycle redistricting process meant to shore up Republican slim House majority. Governor Gavin Newsom appeared Friday with a group of Democratic legislators from that state, reaffirming its intention for California to respond with new maps of its own that would benefit Democrats. This is the reason why they are fighting against ICE. They don't want their votes to leave the state. Following a meeting with Texas lawmakers at the historic governor's mansion in downtown. Oh, so they're meeting with Texas lawmakers. You want to bet that they are Texas Democrat lawmakers? So if you're in Texas, you need to be paying attention. Is Basubi out there? I know Basubi is a very strong advocate in Austin. So in case you didn't know about this, if Basubi's out there. Following a meeting with the Texas lawmakers at the historic governor's mansion in downtown Sacramento, Newsom told reporters that everything is at stake if we're not successful next year in taking back the House of Representatives, not only blunting President Donald Trump's agenda, but protecting American democracy. Remember, there is nothing in the Constitution. There is nothing in the Bill of Rights. There's nothing in the Declaration of Independence. The word democracy, I call it demonocracy. I put that in. Democracy is just one letter away from demon. We are a constitutional republic. That means everybody has a say. It's not one group of people over the other. It's for the good of the country. If we don't put a stake into the heart of this administration, there may not be an election in 2028, he said. We're not screwing around. We can't afford to screw around either. Or they're not screwing around. Sorry about that. My bad. We have got to fight fire with fire. I mean, this is how they're panicking, right? Newsom is panicking. Yeah, I hear you, Michael. I hear you. There's one major obstacle to the governor's ambitions, however. While the legislature draws district lines in Texas, California relies on a bipartisan citizen redistricting commission protected by the state constitution. Well, that seems like this appears to be at least one thing that California got right in their constitution, right? But, they'll probably figure out a way to get around that. In 2008, voters narrowly approved an amendment removing California legislature's power to draw their own seats. 2 years later, voters overwhelmingly passed another amendment expanding the commission's authority to congressional maps. The Independent Commission in California became a national model for advocates who hope to end the partisan gerrymandering that has contributed to a decline in competitive House seats and the country's fractious and sectarian politics. Now Newsom, who said he otherwise supports independent redistricting, is exploring multiple options for working around the commission to squeeze more Democratic districts out of California if Texas follows through on its plan. That would probably involve calling a special sessions, Newsom said, though he is still discussing with the legislature what sort of proposal they might present to voters. Would it include a new map to approve or create another process to draw on? Oh yeah, they'll probably do their own mapping, right? Would the commission be temporarily or permanently repealed? This is a fluid conversation, he said. We're gaming all those things out. States typically redraw their congressional seats once per decade after the census to ensure the districts are all roughly equal in population. The most recent maps were drawn after the 2020 election and took effect in 2022. But last month, Trump's political team began pressuring Republican leaders in Texas, I love how they use that word pressuring, to revisit the state's district lines and create additional GOP seats. Of course, the GOP isn't any better than some of the Democrats, because the Grand Old Party is not necessarily the Grand Old Party that we knew. And, the thing is the Grand Old Party is just as bad as some of the Democrats, right? So the party won a 5-seat majority in the House. Let's see. Oops. I lost my there. So if you're in Rumble and D-Live, not D-Live, man, I get D-Live on the brain, or YouTube, and you want to chat with me, let me know what you think, everybody. The party won a 5-seat majority in the House last November, the narrowest in nearly a century, leaving little room for error as Trump tries to enact his legislative agenda and putting control of the chamber at risk if next year's midterm is a way election against the unpopular president. He's not unpopular. I don't know about this, he's not unpopular. I mean, Scotland was lining up, waiting for him to land when he went there yesterday. These people, they can't tell the truth for the life of them. But here's the thing, I mean, when you think about it, if they fix the voter rolls, you don't have to worry about that. I mean, it's about the voter rolls. Despite opposition from Republicans in the Texas congressional delegation, who worry that diluting their conservative voter bases and restricting could inadvertently make their seats vulnerable, Governor Greg Abbott earlier this month called a special session of the legislature to redraw the maps. He is targeting 4 Democratic seats in Dallas and Houston areas that Trump administration has deemed unconstitutional racial gerrymanderings because they have high numbers of, quote, and I'm quoting this, okay? I don't, you know me, I do not like to talk race as in color, you know. Color is just it's a descriptive it's a descriptive word. It doesn't mean anything to me. Black and Latino voters. The first public hearing took place on Thursday with Texas Democrat lawmakers slamming the move as a power grab. Well, I mean, come on, if they actually had real voters, remember Houston, you have the Houston mayor, or let's see, I think she's the Houston mayor. She's been under voter fraud or voter tampering legislation. I mean, she's been under the gun. She's been investigated. She's being investigated for campaign funds violations. I mean, you have these people, I mean, come on. Really, Jasmine Crockett and Al Green and Sheila Jackson Lee, those people that are activists with Texas Democrat, let's see, the boldly political maneuver juiced similar efforts in other Republican states, including Ohio and Missouri, that could further pad a GOP majority while setting off alarm bells among Democrats nationally. But even as party leaders voice their outrage, they have fewer options to fight back because congressional districts in many of the largest Democratic states, such as California, New York, and New Jersey, are drawn by independent commissions. No one has been more outspoken than Newsom. Yeah, that's because he's panicking. Who weeks ago began publicly floating the idea of sidestepping California's commission to redraw more congressional districts in Democrats' favor if Texas moves forward with its plan. It's a legally dubious and politically fraught endeavor. Even some of Newsom's fellow Democrats have expressed skepticism because of the precedent it would set. So, including Assembly member Alex Lee Milpitas, whose vote may be needed to place a measure on the ballot. Common Cause California, a nonprofit that advocates for government in the public interest and backed the formation of the independent commission, blasted it as a dangerous move that would put our state's quote-unquote democracy on the line during a time of national instability. Meanwhile, Republican gubernatorial candidate Steve Hilton is already threatening to sue to stop a new map and has added to his platform a plan to require the Redistricting Commission to include more GOP seats. Well, you know, here's the problem. Even if you have redistricting and was it gerrymandering or whatever you want to call it, whatever word you want to use for it, it's not going to do you any good if you have a corrupt Secretary of State who is allowing mail-in ballots, who is allowing ballot harvesting, who is allowing anybody and everybody who walk in the door to vote. My personal experience, you know, I was able to go in on the day of the last day of, I'm having a hard time. Before the election, Did I? No, I didn't go on the day of election. I went and the day before. Oh, what do they call it now? I'm having a senior moment, everybody. Not primary. Oh, not the primary. What? Early election. That's it. Early election. And I was able to go in. I took my ID. All I had to do is swear it on I had to sign a paper, an affidavit saying I say who I am. And I gave her my social security number. I said, and I guess she looked it up by the social security number. Because she asked me, did you go and register your vehicle, or have you gone to the DMV? I said no. She says, do you want to? And she said, do you want to vote in today? I said, if it is possible, yes, I would like to vote. She asked me if I wanted to do it on the machine or if I wanted to do a paper ballot. I said I wanted to do a paper ballot. She said, okay, fill it out. She gave me a provisional ballot where I voted for president and and governor, between Steve Garvey and Newsom. Oh, no, not governor, Senate, Steve Garvey or Shifty. And I could vote on the propositions, which is interesting because now in order to be a felony, they lowered the threshold $950 to like $400. So you can be arrested now if you go and steal over $450. And actually somebody got caught and they didn't know that the law had changed on that. Anyway, so when I went in and I had my ID, and I mean, I had it in front of her. I put it on the thing. She says, oh, I don't need to see that. I mean, she takes all of my information. She says, well, and then when I get my ID card or my voter card from the mail, it says I can now vote in California elections in November 15th. So I don't even know if my vote even counted. So to get back to where I'm saying, so what I'm saying, yes, until they do that and get rid of all that, it doesn't matter if they redistrict or not. Yep, they're not supposed to. So like I said, she didn't ask for it. I just had it there. I had it there on purpose. And I took it with me on purpose. And, I took it partly to see if she did, but I had it there. And she's like, oh, I don't need to see that. So she didn't want to even see it. And they have this ballot tracer that's supposed to say it says if they receive the ballot, but it's also supposed to say, from what I understand from other people, says whether or not it was counted. I never got confirmation that was counted. So that's the whole idea. So it doesn't matter if they redistrict, if they redo a map. Until they get rid of that other stuff, it's pointless. It's mute. Because of the legal risk of having the legislature simply draw new congressional districts, the most likely route is a special election asking voters to overturn the independent commission, said Paul Mitchell, a Democratic redistricting consultant. The problem is that the commission remains highly popular with voters in polling, Mitchell said. To get around that, Newsom may need to make concessions like a temporary pause that resumes the independent redistricting process in 2031 after the next census. It's an emergency break glass, not let's burn down the whole building, Mitchell said. Even then, he said, Democrats would need to maintain the drumbeat of frustration over how the party is being harmed. Yeah, right, how the party is being harmed. in Texas for months to turn out a motivated electorate in an unusual special election. It's like lightning in a bottle right now, Mitchell said. Are they going to be able to keep this forefront issue for people? So, like I said, you can't. So Newsom's panicking, and it's about the voter rolls. It's about getting rid of if we could get rid of the, corruption and the voter fraud, yeah. Let's see. Where can I go after that? Can you believe, guys, I only have just a little over 30 minutes. Yeah. Anyway, okay. So since we're on California, since I'm in California, it's interesting because California is just so interesting as a whole. I mean, the stuff in California is just, if we don't get it together, everyone. So. Uh-oh. Okay. Hey. Hold on. All right. All right. I may have to refresh this. There we go. All right. It's coming up. All right. Hold on, let me stop my share here. Yeah, it's getting to be that time in the show where I have there's too many, what you could call it, windows open in Rumble. So I may have to shut down Rumble, but for those who are listening in Rumble, I appreciate you being here in Rumble and just to help get my exposure in Rumble. All right, everybody. All right. So yes, it does. So I may have to leave Rumble in a minute, so I can get back. Am I still attached to Zoom? Am I still in Zoom? So give me a 5x5 if y'all can hear me in Zoom. Thanks. All right, as long as y'all can hear me right now, let me take down. All right. All right. Okay, I am going to. So I'm going to sign off in Rumble, everybody, because I don't want to put y'all through the painful of trying to do a show and y'all not being able to see it. So for those of you in Rumble and if you are in YouTube, I just want to say thank you. If you want to go into D Live, or you can go to PSB on Rumble, you can meet us over there. I do not see chat and Rumble on PSB, but I can. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream, but at least I'm getting my name out there in Rumble and live chat, or live Rumble. So thank you, Rumble. And I'm going to stop share. Hopefully the next few months, maybe by Christmas, I'll have a new computer and I can, if you want to trigger something, maybe if President Trump gives us rebates before Christmas, I can get me a computer before Christmas and all right, I see we got someone else who's joining us. I could try it again, but I'm afraid if I try it again, it's just going to make a mess. So thank you guys on Rumble. Thank you guys if you're on YouTube. I appreciate it. Hopefully you can, continue to follow me. You can always see my archive. You can see the whole show. I will upload it after tonight's show. So if you want to get find out what all was said, if you want to follow us, or if you want to come back to my Rumble channel, Deb65 45, you're more than welcome to. But anyway, in the meantime, those of you in Rumble, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to shut it down in stream and close the room. And that is that. There's that. All right. So, everybody let me go back to this local news about in California. All right. You know what it is? I bet you it's because this embedded, this news report. I didn't think about that. So, AutoZone, get rid of that. AutoZone looted during reported street takeover by LA gang. I don't like. Come on. All right. An AutoZone store was broken into and looted during what was described as a street takeover in Los Angeles' historic South Central neighborhood early Monday morning. So this is by KTLA, and this came out on July the 21st, which would have been Monday. Officers responded to a possible burglary call at the store near West Vernon Avenue and Main Street around 1:15 a.m., a Los Angeles Police Department spokesperson confirmed. Videos show the front doors were left open with shattered glass lying on the sidewalk, and merchandise and debris were strewn across the parking lot and inside the door. LAPD officers were seen entering the auto parts store with guns drawn in case any suspects remained inside. No arrests or injuries were immediately reported, according to the spokesperson. The caller also told police the suspects had broken in during a street takeover. However, the spokesperson was able to confirm any details, let me get rid of that, about the takeover. So look at that. So I wonder, was it a gang related or if it was something else? A burglary report was taken, but the value of any merchandise or cash taken from the store had not been determined. I thought there was more to this story, so. And I think this is the 11 people were stabbed at a Walmart in Michigan. Landlord convicted in hate crime dies in custody. Oh, is this the boat crash that y'all were talking about too? I'm gonna drop that. All right, looking at everybody in chat, and so I got, here's another one. Let's see. Um, so, I mean, again, here's something else that people are not focusing on because of everybody's focusing on. Did everybody catch that we're withdrawn from UNESCO? Anybody catch that? So the United States withdraws from, and this is actually coming from the United States Department, so it's not it's a press release by them, but it's not it's not like a mainstream media thing. So the United States withdraw from the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. So what we need to do is withdraw from United Nations altogether. And let's see, this came out on the Tuesday, July the 22nd. Today, the United States informed Director General Audrey Azoulay of the United States' decision to withdraw from UNESCO. Continued involvement in UNESCO is not in the national interest of the United States. UNESCO works to advance divisive social and cultural causes and maintains an outsized focus on the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. That is another word for Agenda 2030, a globalist ideological agenda for international development at odds with our American First foreign policy. UNESCO's decisions to admit the state of Palestine as a member state is highly problematic, contrary to U.S. policy, and contributed to the proliferation of anti-Israel rhetoric within the organization. Continued U.S. participation in international organizations will focus on advancing American interests with clarity and conviction. Pursuant to Article 2.6 of the UNESCO's Constitution, U.S. withdrawal will take effect December 31st, 2026. So we're still in there for almost 18 months? Let's see, 16 more months, or 15 more months. So we got still 15 more months. I wonder how much damage they're going to try to do. The United States will remain a full member of UNESCO until that time. I hope whatever they have to, I hope that whoever is attending those meetings, whoever's representing the United States, votes no to just about everything, because you know that they are up to no good. Let's see. So here is an interesting, and here's another thing that's getting people so riled up. American is baseball, apple pie, and Chevrolet. Remember, we love baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, and Chevrolet, baseball. So this Venezuela. So this came out yesterday out of Fox Houston. So Venezuelan baseball team denied U.S. visas for Little League tournament. So the brief, the team of Venezuelan teenagers are heartbroken after learning they won't be able to enter the U.S. to play in the Little League Senior Baseball World Series despite qualifying. The team were denied visas to enter the country. Venezuela is among a list of countries with restrictions for entering the U.S. or its territories. So a Venezuelan baseball team who qualified for the Little League, come on, what are you doing? All right. Qualified for the Little League Senior Baseball World Series will miss the event because the U.S. denied their visas. Was it Cacique? It's CACIQUEQ. Cacique Mara team from Maracaibo, Venezuela was scheduled to participate in the tournament after winning the Latin American Championship in Mexico. The players are teenagers between 13 and 16 years old. What we do know is that the Venezuelan team traveled to Colombia 2 weeks ago to apply for their visas at the U.S. Embassy in Bogota. Earlier this month, the Cuban women's volleyball team was denied visas to participate in a tournament in Puerto Rico. What we don't know, it's unclear exactly why the visas were denied, though Venezuela is among the list of countries with restrictions for entering the U.S. or its territories. President Donald Trump has banned travel to the U.S. from 12 other countries, citing national security concerns. The embassy did not immediately respond to an Associated Press request for comment. So what they're saying is, in a statement, Little League International called the move extremely disappointing, especially for these young athletes. Okay, it is a mockery on the part of our Little League to keep us here in Bogota with the hope that our children can fulfill their dreams of participating in a world championship, the team said in a statement. What do we do with such injustice? What do we do with the pain that was caused to our children? Well, guess what? My grandson and his football team were going to have a movie night yesterday, but the powers to be shut it down, and the families were turned away. They've been doing Hell Week for the last 2 weeks, and as a treat, they were going to have a movie night after their last Hell Week practice yesterday. And I'm sorry, that's life. And so they weren't able to have a movie night. Yeah, I know, World Series is a big deal, and being able to travel internationally is a big deal, but, it could be that they didn't have enough parental sponsors. That's, we don't know how many. We just know their ages, 13 to 6 years old, or 16 years old. How many people were going? We don't know. Maybe it was the ratio of adults versus kids. So they told us that Venezuela is on a list because Trump says Venezuelans are a threat to the security of his state, of his country, said Kendrick Gutierrez, the league's president in Venezuela. It hasn't been easy, the situation. We earned the right to represent Latin America in the World Championship. The backstory, the Senior League Baseball World Series, a tournament for players aged 13 through 16, is played every year in Easley, South Carolina. It begins Saturday, or so I guess it meant today. The tournament organizers replaced the Venezuelans with the Santa Maria de Aguayo team from Tamaulipas, Mexico, the team that was a runner-up to the Latin American Championship. I think this is the first time this has happened, but it shouldn't end this way. they're going to replace us with another team because relations have been severed. It's not fair, Gutierrez said. I don't understand why they put Mexico in at the last minute and left Venezuela out. Well, where does Trinidad Agua come from? Right? Or let's see, where does now I could be wrong on MS-13. Where does MS-13 come from? So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why they want to make it political. It may not have anything to do with the ban. They just do not know. They weren't, they don't know if it is because of the ban on the country, or if it was, like I said, maybe, just maybe, it had something to do with the number of coaches or the adult supervision. Adult supervision to the number of kids. We don't know. But, let's see, what was I going to say? Anyway, so we got about 20 more minutes. So where do I want to go from there? I've got some other stories, but I'm probably going to do that on Thursday morning when chat is calmer, because I'm probably going to end up triggering some people, and maybe I can do some video. Let me do some music, unless Dano is out there and he wants to come in and we can have a chat. We got a few minutes before it's time for Dano's show. Let's see, where can we go here? I'm going to take you down. Let's see. All right. Hey, real praying mantis. Oh. All right. But let's see. All right, let's see. 15 minutes. What else do we have? All right, I am going to yeah. Do I have time for that? Nah, I think I'll just do videos for the next few minutes. Gotcha. MS-13 comes from El Salvador. Trinidad Agua comes from Venezuela. Alright, let me see. Alright. Let's see. Let's see, it was Basubi. Hey Basubi, did you see the what I told you about? Have you been on Capitol Hill in in Austin, about the redistricting and the fact that they're having a special session that started this week? Oh man, I need to find all my music. Since Pocket has gotten rid of all the music, has taken down their taken down the, interesting, since Pocket has taken down their stuff, I don't have anything organized. I don't have any music organized. Ooh, I haven't played this one in a while, so I'm going to go play this one. And so I'm gonna wake everybody up if I can. Ah, come on. Hold on. Let me do something real quick. There we go. All right. So. Hey, Dano's here.
Hey, Deb.
Hey, let me do this show closer and I'll come right back to you, okay? All right?
Cool. Sounds good.
Hey, Dano.
Well, that'll get you fired up.
Yeah, well, I went
Yeah.
into.
How you doing this weekend, Deb?
I'm doing all right so far. It's still kind of early yet, but how are you?
Doing good. Doing good. Glad to be here.
Yeah.
Plenty of stuff going on in the news. It makes it sort of I want to say easy to do our job, but there's plenty of stuff to cover, so no lack of options there.
No, I mean, I've been trying to get people to understand that a lot of what you're seeing is a distraction. There's stuff going on that we're not aware of. That's just kind of a blip on the radar. Like, we're pulling out the UNESCO, and I think that's a good thing. But the kicker is we're still there for another year and 60, another year, just a little less a year and a half, December 31st of 2026, because of their what's it, charter or whatever, their constitution. So.
Oh yeah, this is a global thing for sure. It's hard to forget, or it's easy to forget it, to not just look to the United States, but this is, I mean, the Russiagate thing implied that Russia was a bad guy, right? So how would you feel if you were Russia and that wasn't true? Like this is, there's a lot of factors we're not going to see. We can't expect to see. And I agree. A lot of this is a distraction, necessary distraction, very necessary distraction. But if you've read the book 3 or 4 times, do you have to read it for the 5th, or do you let everybody catch up? I think that's sort of where we're at.
Yeah. Well, it's like I think I said it last week, and I told Aaron earlier. I mean, everybody's screaming about release Epstein files. Well, it reminds me kind of like when everybody's screaming, release the Durham report. Well, Durham is a prosecutor. There wasn't going to be a Durham report, and then they had to manufacture a Durham report just to keep people happy. And of course, it turned out to be, for a lot of people, it turned out to be a nothing burger. But what is the real story and all that? Are there really Epstein files, or is it something more? And of course, on the other hand, if there's still an investigation going on, my thing is, if you remember, President Trump said back in 2017 that he had caught them all. Why do we still? I mean, part of me knows, yes, I know it's for the other people who are asleep, who have had no clue what was going on. But for a lot of us, I mean, it's like, why do we need to go through all these sham investigations if they've got it? Why can't they just put it out there? Yeah.
We were living through a color revolution. You can't just undo that. Very effective. It's quite effective. Look at all the other countries that were overturned using the same methods.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and so those that were believing the color, the lies, if that's the case, that's the only leg they have to stand on is the public perception, right? If this is true, if Obama is guilty, they know more than anybody what they did. And so the illusion of them being the good guy, Trump being the bad guy, that's all for the public, right? And so if the stage is set for everybody, basically, regardless of Trump and president, to scream for the same thing, nothing can stop what's coming in that sense. Even Trump can't betray, regardless of what comes out in the news. Imagine all the power that was built up through MAGA for the last 10 years. Because this was way before Trump. We can't forget that. He capitalized on MAGA, for years of Tea Party and audit the Fed, years and years of that movement. And so you don't build that up just to betray it. Who would benefit from that? In whatever these factions are, who would benefit? You don't build any of this up just to screw the people at the very end. Even if they are trying to use us, they need us. Parasites need the host. Right? So anyways, all that doom and gloom, I try to rise above it, even though it's, very contentious times. We're all very vulnerable, right? We have to trust something. We got to have hope in something. And the country's going to heal through this. It's going to be a longer process than many of us, including myself, anticipated. But hopefully the stage is set for truth and justice. And then, we can digest that together and then move forward in the next 10 years, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I'll say it. I just want to get on with the healing process. at this point, I mean, like I said, I got into the fight a little late. I mean, I know there have been people that have been fighting this fight for 20 and 30 and even 40 years, and I got into it late. So I'm sure those people are tired too. But I'm just,
I think about that all the time. All the patriots that have passed that aren't going to get to see wherever this may go.
yeah.
We can only honor
Yeah.
that, right?
Well, I hate to be not to be a David Downer. It's like I told, I think Sonny a couple of weeks ago. I just quite often I think of my brother-in-law, and because what my sister told me during his celebration of life, and that he was the lead investigator into Russiagate, or Russian interference in the 2020, 24, 22 election. And I don't know what, and again, I don't know what was put out there. I don't think she knows what was in his report, or if he had a report. But I do know when the military personnel met with her, my brother-in-law's supervisor, his because he was a military contractor, so he fell under DOD. He said that there was an excitement, and you got to remember this was in November 11th, so it was right after the election, and his words were there was an excitement about what was happening. So,
Well, I think what's being shown is our intel agencies create products, and we assume, having good intentions, that they're honest in their products. But legally and lawfully speaking, they've been able to create products that, for national security purposes, the truth is not to our interest. And so the intel is gathered. It's who puts it together, and then what's the intent behind how they format the results. And the Obama Russiagate thing is a clear example of where the president was controlling those tools. As a middleman, in my opinion, Obama was not masterminding this stuff. He's a pawn in the game just himself. However, he has had the authority over those tools as president and used them to his advantage. Now, is he the first president to do that? No, that's what those tools were for. So when you hear Clapper coming out and saying the product was one of the most scrutinized ever, well, yeah, the product was, what's the product? Is it the truth, or is it a package, a well-designed package? And so they were in the business of creating packages and selling the ideas through the media. That's shattering, right?
yeah. I don't even think Soros is the top of the pyramid either.
No, he's a bagman.
Yeah.
If we know their names, they're not at the top.
Right.
I don't care who it is. That's my opinion. Like, until proven otherwise, there is bloodline families that we can speculate and debate, what their motives are, but it appears that they don't even agree. And, that's an interesting, fascinating dive. But if we're speaking of their names, they're not making these decisions, right?
Yeah, they're just
any well-designed plan has fail safes, and plausible deniability is always orchestrated into all their plans.
Yep, they're still the low-hanging fruit. They're not the top.
Well, does the cartel manage their farms themselves?
No, I don't think
Or do they
so.
get... No, they force people to do it. Who gets in trouble if they get caught? Nobody. It's been that way for a long time. The feds can't do anything about illegal people running illegal grow ops. They can just process them. They can't stop the growing until the actual people that are involved and the money system, the circulatory system, so to speak, is cut off. And, MS-13, Soros, all this stuff that's interconnected, it seems that Trump has cut that circulatory system off, the money system, right? That's how you prepare to cut the head of the snake off, in a sense, right? Mm-hmm. You got to get them to... They might have 50 million endless tentacles, but if the circulatory system doesn't work, they're not going to squeeze too hard anymore, are they?
I hope not.
Right.
Well, I do have did you hear what I know I brought it up last week, but did you, and I want to clarify something about what you said last week too when it comes
Sure.
to this, but did you hear about what President said, something about thinking about giving rebates. Usually when he says something like that, it means there's something in the works about, it's not just that he's thinking about it. It's, he's got a, he's putting the idea out there for people to think about it and chew on it. And there's something in the works. But, you made the comment about free money, nobody would want to work. I don't see it as free money in the sense that, I agree with, no, they're not just going to give everybody just this bunches and bunches of money, because, it goes back to me what they said about Medicare, was it Medicare or Medicaid, that there's stipulations, you have to be working to receive some of that money.
Unless you're illegal.
Yeah, well, hope not. But
the stipulations are only for citizens, and that's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, because, if you're, working 20 hours, I wouldn't mind working 20 hours a week and then getting a little bit of stipend to help offset. Because I tell you what, I enjoy working 20 hours because we do have to be productive. It's important for people to be productive, but it's also nice to be able to go out and I know a lady who, what she does, she works 2 days a week because she has other things she wants to do. She volunteers at the animal shelter. She takes care of her mom. And so,
Well, if people never have any free time, when do they get to actually find themselves?
Right.
And so it's a balance between that, right?
Yeah.
And what I was saying by free money was like the idea of UBI, universal basic income, where everybody just gets a check. That's what I meant by that. As far as rebates, honestly, I have no idea. I could see something like that, like just maybe like I could see it going, in that direction, maybe like, but I honestly don't know. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out. I will bet money that we are transitioning away from the Fed. That's what I've been banking on and sort of reporting on as we shift publicly. The fact that we're even talking about the Fed, what president since 1913 has called the Fed out? Not trying to put you on the spot, but what we see publicly with the Fed and all that, what's really going on? Has a president ever challenged the Fed?
As far as I know, not.
No, not even close publicly.
But I need to start keeping better notes because I saw something about the but the significance of President Trump talking about when he went and toured the Federal Reserve, and they were talking about the Eccles building. Was it the Eccles building? And how there's a significance about the Eccles building that I don't think people understand. And I don't remember what it was that I saw about that, but it's part of if I understand it correctly, it is part of that, if you want to call it the reset,
Washington, there's a lot of significance with most of the buildings in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. was a sovereign. It appears Washington, D.C. is no longer a sovereign entity anymore. That's what Trump has separated. United States Inc. Incorporated is no more. And so we're transitioning away from that into the U.S. Treasury dollar, apparently. But that the public challenging of the Fed, it's to bring out, in my opinion, the point that they have nothing to do with actually our constitutional authority. And, and so if we're going back to the Constitution, like we're still supposed to believe in Trump, this is the key underlying belly of the beast move, that regardless of the surfacey politics, the root of this system has to change. The key to that is what are we going to have to do to get into the new system? But again, we can just speculate. But again, as this stuff plays out day to day, and we see Jerome Powell and Trump in the headlines and arguing about the cost of building projects, what's really going on there? When has a president scrutinized anybody in the Fed? Like, it doesn't happen. They couldn't. JFK is a good example of what happens if you truly try to buck that system.
Yeah.
And so, in a sense, he's doing this publicly. What does that mean? Is he hiding behind, closed doors, worried about the beast, or is he very publicly making a huge move?
I think he's spitting the eye in the beast. If you think about
I
what
think
he's
the game's already been won. We just have to watch the chess game finish, right?
right.
And I don't think these people are going to surrender.
Well, no, because their lives are on the line, and
Well, their livelihoods and lives, and blackmailing side of things. You're right. There could be a lot that were compromised along the way. But
well,
honestly, like if you're successful, like Deb, for real, like look at me, look at you. We can only ask this for ourselves. But if you're successful in something, why would you try to change it? And so it's not even like they're evil. It's just even good-natured people. If they're successful in the system and they never questioned it, they don't understand it, why would they want to change it? And so that's the healthy side of this shift too, is convincing those that might be doing well that, hey, there's better possibilities without destroying what they're used to.
well, it's like I kind of said, imagine being so enslaved that you don't realize that when someone comes along to give you the keys to unlock the cell, and you're so, I guess, entrenched in the way and so used to the way. I mean, I'm one of those, I'm not very big on change. I have to gradually get used to it. That, to hate a man so much is giving you the keys to unlock that system of slavery and you don't realize it. Does that make sense?
Assuming what we know to be true. If what we know to be true is a lie, then what's the possibility? But yes, I don't think that's the case. But we have to be objective, honestly, because if we aren't objective, it falls into the trap of the cognitive bias on the other side. If we start going Trump this, Trump that, that's the deep embeddedness of brainwashing. When I said a color revolution, that's using brainwashing on a social level to overthrow the government. We were living through that. We didn't understand this when Q first came out. What Q was doing was preparing us to subvert a color revolution. Where would we be right now if there were everything played out exactly as we've seen it, but there were never any Q drops?
I definitely think that we would probably be, well, I mean, if you go by what Joe M says, we probably would have been under martial law a long time ago. I mean, really,
As Patriots.
The military would have taken over.
The confusion alone, nobody can predict what would have come out. Mm-hmm. But the amount of, and this goes for every side has been brainwashed. That includes us. Q, if we're to believe it to be true, is a healthy brainwashing because it's supposed to be based on truth, like a parent teaching their children, right? And you have to convince them emotionally that what they're doing is best because they don't understand it. And so looking back, again, had Q come up and said, hey, you guys want to volunteer for the next 8 years? We're going to need your help. Well, I'm going to need a little bit more info. I probably wouldn't have, would you have been strung out for 8 years on this if they would told you it was going to be 8 years, 10 years?
I probably would have been part of the people that I would have been one of those that, okay, we need to change, but I don't know how to do it. I wouldn't have known how to process the information that was put out. I would have like, huh? Really?
I can tell you there were millions way before Trump that were already off the system, out of the system. Not blackpilled, just, hey, it doesn't matter when we vote, doesn't matter when we have to find self-sufficiency. That movement was growing exponentially. And so basically, if that movement was confused to the point of action, we're talking about beyond civil chaos. Mm-hmm. And it would have fell right into the trap of the globalist because any resistance they've been trying to get above of. That's what the Second Amendment was all about all this time. Mm-hmm. So just imagine all this without Q, again, being objective. And then as this plays out, it won't be a matter of validating Q. The world's going to get to validate whatever the truth is, and Q's going to be a factor along the way. Mm-hmm. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm right. Honestly, I'm just another guy, but I feel things, and then I try to think about it, and then try to use both the heart and the mind, and I don't know, because at the end of the day, I don't know. But you try to put it all together, like we all do, and this is sort of how I see it.
Well, it's like, I've said this more than once, but I said it to Aaron earlier. It's like when I tried to put myself in the other people, these people that are so anti-Trump and Trump is this, Trump is that, he's a whatever, and I'm thinking, I just don't get it. I mean, I tried to look at it and see where you're getting your information. Who said? I mean, one of the biggest ones too is the narrative that he was having sex with a porn star while Melania was giving birth. It's like, who came up with that? Where did you see that? The whole bone spurs thing. That just like,
What? Remember in the 80s, and I'm not trying to be critical or sound condescending, but remember in the 80s when you go to the checkout aisle and there was all those tabloids?
Oh yeah.
And what's the average kind of person that would actually purchase those?
Probably just yeah. I know what I think I know where you're
And
going.
so what happens when you get, a small percentage of that population to about 30% of the population having that mindset? We're being conditioned through headlines. And
Yeah.
sex sells. That's the oldest thing in the book. Like, obviously. So basically when you see sex, that's a red flag in itself. There's probably a lot more involved than we're going to get to see. And there's something going on in a way that they have to publicly destroy somebody. And the sex is the best way to do that. Matter of fact, you want to get on a little rabbit hole on that. The whole male female, the V versus the A, right? That dynamic, in a sense, is how Satan has controlled man from the beginning, shifting the perception from man to female to man.
Yeah.
And as it clashes in the middle, we reset.
Well, I just
So if you're looking at the orchestra conductor, that's how he does it.
well, I mean, you think about if you think about the Old Testament of the Bible. I've been studying. We're working our way through First Kings, and we just got to the one of the scriptures about the pagan gods and the ones that did the child sacrifice. Usually, if you look at the pagan gods, it's fertility. I mean, the major gods, some of the major gods. It wasn't just about climate and, controlling the weather or your crops, but two of the biggest gods had to do with child sacrifice and fertility. Usually the fertility is through the female and the child sacrifice is to the male deity. So, that's, like you said, it's been going on since the beginning of time, really.
That's brainwashing humanity to the point where their only hope is through the illusion of sacrifice. That's evil. But that's how far humanity can go, and that's it. Looking back, why Jesus had to come, right? He gave us an out. No middlemen needed. Yeah. Salvation is between creation and creator. No government needed. And so that's always been a threat. And when you study history, it seems that threat is growing and evolving through the political side. And Revelation seems to show the... Yeah. I don't know, though.
Nothing's new under the sun, definitely.
What was here before the sun?
Well, no, the sun was before topic. The sun was from the beginning, the SON, not the SUN.
Right.
So, well, yeah. I'm eating into your time, so.
Good stuff, though, Deb.
As always, nice chatting with you. I'm sure you got a lot to go over, but I'll go ahead and step away, and you go on with your show, even for the next 45 minutes. And
it's a perfect continuation of exactly what we're talking about. So it's meant to be.
All right. You have a good one, and I'll be listening to you probably Tuesday.
Sounds good, Deb.
All right.
Have a good week.
You too. Bye.